Happy Thursday, everyone. We are back with another trading recap video. I want to give you a look at some of my entries and exits this morning and show you what I was thinking about as I was doing it. Hope you guys enjoy this content. As always, please feel free to subscribe and share with your friends if you like, and go ahead and give me that thumbs up as well. Let's jump over to the charts. Alright guys, here we are back at one of our old favorites, NEO. As you're going to see, I did not make any profits on NEO, and I actually got stopped out. So I'm going to show you real quick why I did that. And it's going to be really obvious once I get down into the levels. So let's go ahead and jump down to the entry. Okay, as I say many times, one of my favorite patterns or setups to trade is the break of the VWAP, whether it be long or short. And this morning we did have the break of the VWAP on NEO after the 935 mark. Unfortunately, my main focus this morning was on Lululemon, which is under the ticker LULU. So I wasn't looking at NEO this morning first off. I really just jumped over here after I had already taken my first trade on Lulu. So this is one of the reasons that I did not get the entry that I wanted. So here we're going to see two arrows. My entry was actually this arrow here, which was a short at the 940 was a short at the 940 candle. Unfortunately, I didn't get the entry I wanted at the VWAP, so that caused me to have to stop out well before that I wanted to. As you'll see here, I'm going to get rid of this circle and show you the entry point that I should have taken, which would have been much higher around this area here. This would have given me a lot more leeway, allowing this candle to wick up before it actually made the move down that I was looking for. It actually did do the move that I wanted, but I have rules in place where if a candle moves a certain direction away from my trade, then I'm going to stop out. I'm not going to sit here and let my trade continue to run against me or try to average down. That is not the behavior of someone that is trying to be successful. Take it from me, I know that. I have averaged down several times in the past, and I have tried to pull myself out of a hole by adding to a losing position. I've read too many books by now to say that that is not the way that you make money. Obviously, if I wouldn't have stuck to my rules and I would have just let this trade pan on out, I would have been profitable. If I wouldn't have taken my stop up here once it broke the VWAP and just sat there and said, I'm just going to throw my hands in the air, this stock would have came back down and it would have hit my target. And I would have made a very profitable move. But unfortunately, I have rules. If I take this entry and this candle pops up above VWAP, I'm stopping out. And that's exactly what happened. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I did already have one profitable trade before this, so I did not want to give back any of my profits. And unfortunately, I did here, but I cut the loss short and I said, I'm going to take this small L as opposed to letting this go reverse and bounce to the long side off the VWAP, causing me to lose more profits. Again, this is one of those discipline things. I didn't always used to be this disciplined. A lot of times I would have either added to the short just to cover, or I would have just sat back and said, okay, we're going to turn this short trade into a long swing trade and see what happens. That is not the attitude or discipline of someone that is trying to be a profitable trader. It is always better to take an L and live to see another day than it is to average into a losing position and lose even more money. That's how you blow up accounts, and that's how me personally, I have lost a lot of money in the stock markets. So live and learn. That is on the job paid training, and that is exactly why we took that trade and why I stopped out. So now let's get over to the profitable trades that I had on Lulu and put a smile on my face. Okay, here we are at LULU, otherwise known as Lululemon. For those of you that do not know about the company, they have a lot of history of making a lot of good moves, especially over long term. So it doesn't really pop up on a gapper list or a day trading momentum stock list very often, but this morning this stock gapped up on earnings, and I want to show you the amount of money this stock gapped up in one day. Look at the chart. So we are going to go over to the right and show you the level and the reason why I had to trade this stock this morning. Yesterday this stock closed at around $308 $80 or so right here. This is where they opened this morning, right around here. They had a huge gap up overnight. And when you have this large of a move, coupled with two price targets that were set this morning, which were around the 410 to 420 level, I knew right off the top of my head that there were going to be a lot of profit takers that wanted to get out of the stock and take their profits off the table. So all I needed to do was be patient, wait for the right time to go short, and take advantage of those trades. So let's jump back over to the 1 minute chart and see where I did that. Okay guys, here's my first trade on Lululemon. It was right around 9:34 and it was immediately after it lost the 200 EMA. Now this wasn't really the biggest reason that I took the trade. Normally when I trade stocks, I want to obviously catch them as they lose the VWAP. But the biggest reason I waited a little bit longer was, if you can notice the size of these wicks, this stock was chunking up and down an incredible amount. And this stock is also priced a lot higher than the ones I normally trade. So when we're looking at a movement from here to here, we're not looking at a 60-cent move. We're looking at more like a $4 move. And when you're trading sets of 100, you're looking at a switch between around $400 anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds. So I wanted to be really careful where I took my entry, and also knowing that if I had to get stopped out, I wasn't going to lose a large amount of money, and I could still take a loss with a stop out and then get into another trade and try to make my profits back. So that is the biggest reason that I did not just jump in as soon as I saw this cross the VWAP. I wanted to let this move on lower, that way I had more conviction. So my entry here really coincided with this support 1 line, which you can see both of these candles bounced off of right here with their actual candle and not the wick. And then here we had finally what I was wanting, the lower highs, and this touched down and hit a lower low. As you can see here, as I was saying yesterday, if a candle is making a higher low, I don't feel comfortable going short on it. But after seeing this candle make a lower low here and then come back up a little bit, once I found this level, I said, okay, I feel like the bears are going to win this battle and I'm going to go short. So I went ahead and took my position here, and then we had enough room to let this shake out. And what happened is this candle came in and we had a massive sell-off. And in this instance, I went ahead and I took my partial here, and then I took my last partial here. One of the reasons I did not partial out more is because of the size of the trade that I took, which was not as large as I normally do because of the price of the stock. And also with the price of this stock, you can obviously hit your target a lot faster than, say, if you're trading NEO over 10 minutes, I can make the same amount of profit trading Lulu in 2 minutes. So, and that's exactly what happened on this trade. I was actually glad that I got out of this trade with this. I was able to take a lot of profits off the table and then move on. The first NEO trade that I showed you was actually after this trade. So that's where I already had profits in the bank and I didn't want to give too much back with NEO. Once I took that NEO trade, I came back to Lulu and said, okay, they're wanting to give me a little bit more money, so let's go ahead and try another trade. And we'll go to that one now. Okay, here is my second trade on Lulu. We came back, and what I was looking for at this point in time was several different factors. One of the biggest was I was looking for a top that could not be broken, and I was looking for a price that looked fairly obvious that everybody else would see and respect. And here that price would have been the $432 level. And as you can see here, this was the $432 level right where my crosshairs are right now. Now it did not touch that to a T, but as you can see, this is where my fill was and this is where the candle was. So this candle, once I saw the large volume come in, and then here we saw the indecision starting to squeeze the candle smaller. That is what made me say, okay, this stock doesn't want to push past 432. Let me go ahead and take an entry, and then we're going to let it bounce around and see what I can get. Because with this entry here, which is the short that I took, If I had to stop out, I was only going to lose a small amount. I wasn't really going to give back a lot of profits from earlier. Thankfully, I was able to keep my eyes on the timing sales and watch how the L2 was kind of bouncing around and the price action was coming together. And finally, as you can see, I took a small portion here way too early. This was actually an accident on the hotkey. I did not mean to take this first portion, but the second one I was able to take out around the 50 EMA, and then I took another portion out here. And then lastly, I went ahead and said, all right, this one may go back up and try to test that top again. I'm not going to let it have the chance to continue to go higher and test this high of day. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this trade. It was another profitable trade. Again, we don't need as big of winners on these large price stocks to get the same amount of profit as I would on something like NEO or something like, let's see what else we have, SPCE or other ones like that. These we can only get, we can actually, what looks like a small winner is actually a very large amount of money. So that was the second trade I took on Lulu. I took one more trade which was profitable, and something very interesting happened on that one. Let's jump over there. Alright guys, here's my third and final trade on Lulu, and also my fourth and final trade of the day. I wanted to go short on Lulu one more time before I close my platform out, just because I felt like the bears were just too strong on this stock. There was just a catalyst that pushed it so high that I felt like, okay, this just went way too high for one move. It's not known to move $60, $65 in one pre-market. So let's go ahead and see if they can push it down a little bit more before I close everything down. I was watching one of my favorite setups next to high of day in the VWAP, which is a reverse ABCD pattern. As you can tell, I'm kind of short biased, so that's exactly what happened. I was looking, I watched this fall here, and then we bounced right off of the S1 with this close. Now what I wanted is, I wanted this candle, which would have been my C in the upside down ABCD pattern, to not go higher than around 50% of this move. So I was looking for right around this level right here. And fortunately, this bounce did not go any higher than that. It stayed right below the 50 EMA. When I saw that, I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and add once it gets back down to the S. If it is going to make that move back down to the S1 on the Camarilla pivot line, I feel confident that it's going to continue to move lower, at least enough for me to take another chip shot and go ahead and get a little bit more profits for the end of the day. Now, the one thing I want to show you before we close up is my exits and exactly what happened. Here I took my entry, and the candle did indeed bounce, and it stayed below where I had my stop set. And I quartered out here, and I quartered out here. Now this move, I actually took the smallest share size that I had all day long. This was only a 50 share size position because I wanted to grab a little bit more profits out, but I didn't want to risk a huge bounce and giving too much profits back. So I quartered out here, and then I quartered out here, and I took my third quarter here. And at this point in time, I was only holding, I believe it was around 10 shares. So what I did is I set my break even, and I said, okay, I'm holding 10 shares. I'll let it see what this candle here does, and if it moves higher, I'll just stop break even. And if it moves lower, I'll just let those 10 shares sit there and ride. Well, I want you to see where this last order filled. As you can tell, this is not break even with this entry, even though I had a break even order set. This is how much it ran from this level here all the way this high before my order actually filled. So that is why you have to be very careful with your stops, and also have it even with automatic stops. They're not always to the penny, and it's only going to fill where the market's going to fill you. So if I would have been too cocky and said, oh, I'm just going to hold a huge amount and go break even, what if I would have been holding 100 shares at break even and it didn't fill me for another $1 above my break even? That would have been a huge loss. So thankfully I had a very small share size and it really didn't cost me that much money. I think around maybe $10 or so for this slippage. But slippage is very real when you're dealing with stocks like this, where the orders in the spread is just so spread out that where normally you would only get about 3-cent slippage, I had about $1 slippage. And again, it may have been tragic, but in this case it wasn't, because I had already built a cushion and I had already taken my profits here. Okay guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really enjoying making these videos for everyone. My new equipment just came in, plus I'm going to go ahead and upgrade a lot more and be trading a lot more. That way I can continue to push out some content that everyone enjoys. Thanks you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. If you don't come back before then, take care.